Welcome to another episode of Consumer Engagement in an Omnichannel World. Our co-hosts, Shri Rajagopalan and Peter V.S. Bond, explore how brands and retailers engage with consumers in store, online, and everywhere in between. And now, here are Shri and Peter.
Welcome everyone to our new episode of Consumer Engagement in an Omnichannel World with Peter Bond and Shri. And today we have a very special guest for you from the ever-turning, ever-transforming world of CPG and retail and the third-party marketplace, what I would call the king and queen of the third-party marketplace, Pharmapacks. But I would like to remind all our listeners, you can catch all of our content on the link that you see on the side here. It is linktr.ee/CPG guys. Do follow our channel on LinkedIn. Consumer Engagement in an Omnichannel World. You will find the link in the comment section here. And without further ado, welcome Aisha, the Chief Strategy Officer of Pharmapacks, and our host, Peter Bond. I'll turn it over to you, Peter. Welcome.
Shri, you're the funk to my Wagnall, you're the Hall to my Oates, you're the Yogi to my Campy. Always a pleasure to join you.
Thank you, Peter. Aisha, go ahead and introduce yourself for us, please.
Yeah, thrilled to be here. First of all, thank you guys so much for having me. I can never say no to Shri, and he knows that. But this is a real pleasure for me to be here. So thank you. And the content you've been sharing has been wonderful. It's one of the positives of this pandemic is all the amazing content that's out there, and this is really no different. I think that's a part of that. So thank you too for being part of that. Building of a community really on LinkedIn and other channels. So just happy to be a part of it. So yeah, thank you for having me. I'm Aisha Khan. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer for Pharmapacks. We are the largest 3P seller on Amazon in North America. However, we do sell on other marketplaces. So I would say in general, Pharmapacks is just a large marketplace seller. And I joined in January, which means I spent most of my time actually at Pharmapacks during COVID, which is an interesting story. We can get into that whole thing for anyone who started jobs, relatively either before the pandemic or during the pandemic. But it's been a very interesting journey. Very excited to be a part of the team, and yeah, growing. The growth has been tremendous, not just for us, but for e-com in general. And so we'll get into some of the details of that today.
So one of the fun things I get to do today is Aisha and I have worked as colleagues at Johnson & Johnson, and you personally have evolved from being a procurement analyst that came through the leadership development program from college into J&J, and we're lucky we managed to spot you early and bring you on into leadership in e-com, and now you've evolved to actually leading strategy for Amazon's largest third-party marketplace seller in the US. What's the secret sauce of waking up, joining procurement post-MBA, and then I think your journey has also led you through media, retail media, digital media, and somewhere in there also leading strategy and business development for a CBD company, and now actually being here at Pharmapacks. Like, what's the secret sauce of this evolution?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think, the funny story is when I was interviewing at J&J, I was one of the on-the-fence candidates because they weren't sure what to do with me exactly. And because they said her background is so varied, I had worked on Wall Street, I had my own e-commerce company and business, and then had gone to get my MBA. And they were like, she's kind of all over the place. And then eventually someone raised their hand and said, but isn't that, joining a big company like Johnson & Johnson, isn't that a part of what we offer here is the ability to, shape career paths within one company. And so ultimately I took advantage of that. So, and I blame J&J for that as well, is kind of giving me that no fear mentality of really chasing great experiences and great leaders. And that's really my secret sauce. There is no secret sauce. I just follow great experiences and I follow great leaders with fierce conviction that that's what's going to make me happy, is learning from them and learning from the job and learning from my colleagues, my peers, and even the people who report to me. So I've always followed that journey. That's really been my mantra. When I left J&J, I did go into the cannabis industry because I just wanted to, honestly, I was passionate about it. I wanted to learn about it. I knew that in e-commerce, I'd come from J&J. I was on the Amazon team, really holding the bag for a big chunk of their Amazon business. And I knew that in e-commerce, to be seen as a true e-com leader, you needed to really own D2C. You needed to have that understanding of the consumer. You needed to have that understanding of, honestly, website, UX, paid social, SEO, all of that. So that's where really I cut my teeth. And I did that for the experience, to say, hey, I worked in cannabis, when it was a really hot market. I got to learn D2C there, was grateful for that opportunity, and then left to go to Publicis to do media, because I had never worked in an agency. And I said, hey, why not? And really wanted to learn digital media, shopper marketing, shopper media, digital shopper marketing. How do you drive foot store traffic? Omni-channel, I think that's what that experience really gave me, is I really wanted to transform myself and my brand, personal brand, from e-commerce to omni-channel, because I read the writing on the wall that was the future. And even in cannabis, that's really what inspired me, because cannabis is so dispensary driven. It's all about the physical dispensary. E-com was just a piece of it. So it was wonderful really to get that experience both at the cannabis company, Vireo, at Publicis, obviously at J&J, and then media. I really dove into the media world, and from there got the opportunity to work at Pharmapacks, who was my customer at J&J. So that's how that happened, is when I was at J&J, I helped develop the 3P, 1P, 3P hybrid strategy, which we'll get into later. And so just building relationships through the business development with Pharmapacks, who J&J uses to this day. I was able to build a relationship with the leadership team there. And when they needed someone for this role, they approached me for it. And I'm also one of those people that, when I see a good opportunity or it comes my way, I really think, I haven't said yes to everything, although it might seem like it from my career trajectory. But, I really think about, is this opportunity going to come back around? And I think I had very great mentors when I had the opportunity to move from procurement to the sales side. There's a little bit of friction in that. I had this group of people in procurement that brought me into J&J. Like I said, they took a chance on me. But then I had this opportunity on the sales side, Shri, working for you actually. And someone said to me, really think about, is this opportunity going to come around twice? Next year, if it's a better time for you, right? Because for me, I'm like, oh, this would have been such a better time if it came next year. Everyone has that mentality. Oh, 6 months, it would be perfect. 2 years from now, it would be perfect. Next year would be perfect. But for me, they were really like, really think it's going to come around again. And if the answer is no, you have to jump in now. The timing is never going to be perfect for any job move. And so that's really stuck with me. And I was lucky to have that mentorship from a great mentor at J&J, who has since left, Gina Schneider. And she really helped me through that. And so that's what I said is, is this Pharmapacks opportunity going to come back around? The answer was no. And so I jumped on it. And so now it's been 6 months since I made that decision.
That's great, Aisha. Thank you for joining us today. It's really a pleasure to speak with you. Specifically, this role is an interesting component of the e-commerce experience. Shri and I talk about it all the time. It's about the logistics on the back end of actually getting the product to the consumer and the decision of 1P, 3P that we'll talk about later. But it's obviously squarely focused on e-commerce. And really, what was it that drew you back to e-commerce, and what do you think prepared you specifically for this role and transitioning into it?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I mean, I wish that there was some like really smart, sophisticated answer I could give here, but the real answer is I personally hate stores. Like I hate waiting in line. At least I'll call it, right, the old school experience. Grocery shopping for me brings a lot of anxiety. I'm like, oh my God, who's touched all this stuff? And I'm like, you got to go through every aisle. You got to wind up and down. And it's like, do I have to go down this aisle? And it looks so long. You're standing on one side of the aisle. It's like, I'm a time, right? I have like a typical, like, I have, multiple things going on. I have multiple projects. Then I got to think about, as a, I got to cook, and then I got to clean. And then I'm like, I really don't have the time to do shopping. And this is very early on. I just hated it. I'd rather go spend time with my friends when I was younger. And so for me, it just came from, if I don't like it and I'm willing to pay a premium for e-com, again, not everyone can pay that premium, but I just saw the writing on the wall that eventually this will scale. Eventually there'll be, more mass solutions or cheaper solutions like click and collect to do e-commerce. That's kind of what I just put all my big bet on e-com, because I was like, there's no way this isn't going to grow. And so, there's really no savvy answer other than I saw it on the wall. And then as J&J was really building their e-com team and e-com strategy, it's really where I just saw the attention of the company. And so I was like, listen, if they're thinking about it strategically, there's got to be something to this. And so I really just made a big bet on e-com early on in my career.
Speaking of e-com, I actually remember us going to Pharmapacks to start that relationship. Perhaps Tony, perhaps Neil brings back memories, and then chatting with Andrew at Pharmapacks and getting that started. So the thing that comes to mind is, could you tell us a little bit about who is Pharmapacks? And, Peter and I would agree with you that when one gets into the world of retailing these days, whether you're a brand or whether you're a retailer, you have to be diversified, just like a brand gets into multiple channels of business. You don't just stick to grocery, you go to convenience, you go to drug, so many channels. Even within the e-commerce world, there's D2C, there's B2B, there's the third-party marketplace. Peter and I, through our own experiences, will tell you it's non-negotiable. You have to be on all channels. You have to learn how to be on a 3P marketplace. So could you help for our audience just understand who is Pharmapacks and why is the third-party marketplace presence a must-have these days?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So Pharmapacks is a marketplace seller. So what that means is we will hold inventory, we'll buy wholesale. How Pharmapacks makes their money is wholesale margins. So we buy products wholesale from brands, from manufacturers, sometimes distributors, and we sell those on marketplaces. And the way we make money is through that margin. It's really that simple. And then a portion of that margin we'll reinvest back into marketing. We'll partner with brands to get investment from them to drive marketing. So we have obviously a supply chain team who will manage your inventory, manage the fulfillment of the products. We'll do FBA prep for your products. So we'll sell from, a portion of our sales comes from seller fulfilled prime. So it will come from our warehouses in Long Island. We'll ship directly to the consumer. A portion of our business also will do FBA. So we'll actually send products to the FBA centers at Amazon, because we also want a diversified strategy, just like everyone else should. We also want to be diversified. So we have FBA. And then a smaller portion of our business is actually direct to consumer. So we do have like Pharmapacks.com. We do have a site called Splash.com for more of our emerging brands that we'll also fulfill for. So we'll hold inventory for brands, we'll sell it on margin, and we have a great performance marketing team that will partner with brands, work directly with brands to figure out, okay, what are the search strategies that we want to employ? Are there any, display media strategies using Amazon's display network that we want to employ, their DSP capability to drive the business forward? And we also have a creative and content team to make sure your content is A+, your SEO is there. So really, end-to-end solution for any marketplace selling. So from the front end kind of marketing all the way to the back end, really supply chain and fulfillment.
Yeah, Aisha, it sounds like your organization has a lot of capabilities that brands need. There are hundreds of 3P marketplace providers. What do you think are kind of the key elements that have made Pharmapacks the leader in North America in particular around Amazon?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And, as I've been here, especially in the strategy role, and coming from the background that I came from, I came in very gung-ho about strategy and all these sophisticated, marketing strategies that we can employ, or inventory, demand planning, forecasting strategies that we could employ to make sure we had the right inventory on hand and distribution and, creative and content. And yes, you need to have all of the above. But what I really learned is what sets Pharmapacks apart and what so much of this business really actually stands on, whether it's Pharmapacks or any other marketplace business, is operations and experience when things go wrong. and they will inevitably go wrong. Your listings will come down. Your categories got switched. There's, it's all over the internet, but like the reporting will go down randomly. Your ASIN will get changed from it's a vitamin and somehow it's a pesticide. Amazon it thinks it's a pesticide. And we have, I have a brand that's happened to, and it's crazy. So I think what Pharmapacks brings to this table is this really deep expertise, which even totally honestly, I'm learning myself because I came from more of the, the sexy above ground stuff that you see in marketing, a little bit of supply chain I'll put in the middle, but really it's like a glacier, right? And it's really underneath. It's that marketplace operations that really drives the business forward and keeps things going. And that expertise, Pharmapacks, bar none, probably is one of the best at in the industry because we've been doing it for 10 years. Pharmapacks has been doing this for 10 years, like all the way, one of the very early adopters of marketplace selling. So there's very few things that we deal with that we haven't seen before. We don't know how to solve for. We don't know who to go to at Amazon to fix it. A lot of these large other sellers, they'll have connections, senior connections to, people at Amazon, and that's great. And that is an important part of your 3P relationship you should think about is that strategy. But it's the middle, it's those guys in the middle and even the junior guys at Amazon that really can actually get stuff fixed and really like get stuff done. And you got to know exactly how to submit a case. You got to know exactly kind of how that works. And so, I wish it sounded sexier than it does, but it's really like that marketplace operations. We have a team around it. We have people who've been doing it for 8 to 10 years. And I think that's what really sets Pharmapacks apart is you're never going to be in a situation you're not going to be selling your product for 3 weeks because your ASIN's down. We're pretty good about getting that fixed.
I know the platform is kind of notorious for things going down all the time, but I think it's just a function of having millions of SKUs versus tens of thousands of SKUs. So things will go wrong. Speaking of that statement, when things go wrong, one of the things that I really thought about is, you're the chief strategy officer, and then things go wrong all the time. So what does a day in the life of a chief strategy officer at Amazon's largest third-party marketplace seller in North America look like? Like, what happens when you get in, and how does the day end? When you look back on it, what makes you feel like you deserve a pat on the back and the company and the brand deserves a pat on the back?
Yeah, I think it's constantly evolving. And I think when I got the role and I took the role, there was like a 4 to 5 week period between accepting the role and starting the job, giving notice to my employer, taking some time off in between. And me being me, what did I do? I was reading, what does a chief strategy officer do? What are the key tenets? What are the key job responsibilities? And I came in and I sat with Andrew the first week and I had all these printouts, Harvard Business Review articles and one-pagers and all this stuff. Here you go. And it was like, we looked at it and he was like, well, I think we're just going to have to, not play this by ear, but start in one place and then see how it evolves. And I think the chief strategy officer roles is one of those roles that at every single company, it's different. It's defined differently. And it's the best role. And it could also be the most challenging role. You get a lot of that high level of visibility to a lot of stuff going on, but trying to figure out where I think the strategy actually comes from. Where do you dive deep into projects? Where do you dive deep into work streams? Where do you help the teams? And actually where you don't. And that art and that balance of how much you dive deep to help. A lot of what I did early on at Pharmapacks was just establish some basic process. So it was very process oriented. It was adding a little more documentation to some of our processes and fixing some things that may have just through communication weren't working. So that was really fun. And then with coronavirus hitting, that was challenging. It's hard to build new processes and things when you really can't sit in a room and workshop things as easy as you could in the prior world. But now it's really evolved into, really strategic portfolio management for Pharmapacks. So, it's no secret we're trying to raise dollars. And so it's what's going to really drive shareholder value. Where are the areas of focus? Where do we need to bring in more people or upskill our people? What are the processes we need to improve? And what are the technologies that we really need to employ? So a lot of also what I did was try to bring in external tools and technology that we could leverage to scale. And I think that's essentially what it is. I mean, some companies call it chief growth officer, some call it chief strategy officer, some have two separate roles, but I think the role is really just focused on growth. So sometimes my day in the life is I'm in an investor meeting. Sometimes it's a tactical call just to see how the D2C area of the business is doing. I hold weekly education sessions because I'm also, I come from a teaching background. I taught at Rutgers. I created a class on e-commerce and supply chain and Tableau, which I love. And sometimes it's just teaching the team like latest strategies, what's going on with Walmart media and marketplace, why we should be focusing there. So it changes all the time, and I really wouldn't have it any other way.
If it's any comfort, Aisha, before we started this venture, Shri and I read Podcasts for Dummies, and it proved to be immeasurably effective in helping us get prepared.
And see, I actually wear a coat as a result.
In any event, the lifeblood of growth, and you've talked a lot about growth, is more often than not innovation. So I'd love to get a feeling for you as how you approach that, particularly with the brands you're carrying, whether it should be 1P or 3P. What are some of the policies and processes you put in place to make that successful?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, what I love about being now on this side of the table, so I've been, I've sat on the manufacturing side, now sitting on this side of the table, is that ability to shape innovation, to drive the insights, to say, hey, we have a new brand entry in the category. We're losing market share. What are they doing that we're not doing? Let's start doing that. Is there a new flavor? Is there a new scent? Is there a new packaging? Is there a new? We finally have a seat at the table. At least I feel like I have a seat at the table to, share that back with manufacturers. And being Pharmapacks, being one in the e-com channel, and two, just being having the visibility to so many categories and the depth in the categories that we have as well. I think we have a lot of credibility in kind of the insights that we bring. And so I've seen firsthand, it's really incredible, both on the large brand side, so the large CPG side, but Pharmapacks also has a wonderful portfolio of brands that we work with that we call emerging brands. So these are smaller brands. They could be pre-revenue. They could be larger, kind of like digitally native brands. But we'll give them an insight. 3 months later, we've got a new SKU. We've got a new package. We've got it. And it's incredible, the innovation cycles of some of these smaller players. And so that's really been just incredible to be a part of and see. And the way we approach innovation is really, we try to encourage as much as possible to launch 3P first. So even for large CPG brands, if you have a 1P relationship, that's fine. Pharmapacks in particular, we've been playing this game for a long time. And so we understand how to play nice in the sandbox to make sure that your 1P business is growing and your 3P business is really incremental to that. And so, how we really think about it is sometimes launching innovation in the 3P world could be beneficial as you think about the ability to really ramp up your inventory, really give an opportunity to collect reviews, really give an opportunity to test different content, potentially even test different price points. And then we have things at a really good spot. You can always take that and bring it to your 1P partners if that's what makes sense. Or if you're a smaller brand and you don't have a 1P relationship, obviously you don't have a choice and you just got to make sure you're fueling that flywheel in 3P. So that's really how we think about innovation. It's really making sure we have the right inventory levels is always the basics. You never want to run out of stock on a new item because you're literally you press reset on your SEO rank and all the hard work that you did to get to top of page. So that's really a key focus. And then making sure we're being really smart around search and making sure that where our ACoS thresholds or our ROI thresholds are at the right place. So we're not constricting the brand early on. So, being very aggressive with making sure we're on unbranded terms, even if it's at the detriment of profitability. And I think that's what we've been partnering with brands on is, how aggressive are they comfortable with to go for new innovation, and how do we steal market share? How do we conquest? So all that, all that nitty gritty marketing strategies and plans, we also help and partner with the brands on.
For the benefit of our listeners, ACoS is average cost of sales, which is a % of marketing investments on your complete P&L, on your gross sales. So Aisha, you just mentioned how you would incubate innovation, and I heard a lot of levers on how this would actually show up and be successful. How do you then, once you bring an innovation on and it's done via 3P marketplace, when I think back, I actually remember us launching CNC by Clean and Clear exclusively on Pharmapacks as a third-party marketplace trial. Of course, that thing has grown leaps and bounds today, which is awesome, and we even ended up getting an award for that, which is what led to my journey to joining Revlon. So as I think back on that, you bring an innovation on, it's now starts selling on as a Pharmapacks third-party marketplace seller. How do you then coach an ASIN and a brand to make sure that long-term it's sustainable, aka the tough and dirty, what is a much maligned word, e-commerce is not profitable or lowers profit? Like, how do you make an ASIN more profitable so that it actually sustains and can become a scale business?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I'll start with first the levers. There's really no secret sauce here. I mean, you can Google this and you'll probably get a great article on it somewhere. I'm sure you have addressed this in some of your other podcasts, so definitely recommend folks can go back and watch some of those. But it's really right inventory, making sure your content is strong. You have video content in your PDPs, your descriptions are SEO optimized. You're really educating the consumer on your product. Reviews, can't emphasize that enough. Like running media on an ASIN where you have 2 or 3 reviews, right? It's like you're just gonna waste money. And I'm not gonna pretend
you
like
have made Peter day.
Yes.
Oh, I'm taking this clip and I'm posting it all over social media.
And you should. I mean, it's like, we have brands that are, and even in my own life, even before I joined Pharmapacks, right? I've been in situations in ASIN, it's a, priority product for the company. Everyone wants it to move. Everyone wants to run search tomorrow. And it's got 2 reviews. Maybe it's like a 5-star review and like a 3-star review. And it's like, I think really understanding how to drive reviews on Amazon. I'm not going to pretend like Pharmapacks is any secret sauce, but if you're a scrappy brand owner, or if you're even working in a CPG, you'll figure it out. I'll leave it at that. You'll figure out how to find some reviews. At least in the Amazon world, I think there are ways outside of Amazon with like Walmart, your D2C sites, Target, and other channels where a vendor like Power Reviews can help you generate reviews, because you really need reviews. I mean, reviews is like the liquid gold of e-commerce.
I've heard of that company before.
Yeah, I've heard of that, for sure. Small company. So you got to have that before you start running search. So it's almost like a building block. You have your inventory, great content, reviews, then you can start running your search, then you can start playing around with other tactics like DSP, display media, programmatic media, and then it's really the external traffic drivers you want to make sure you have on too. So I think this is where brands really get lost, and what I mean by that is, are you using your paid social to drive traffic to Amazon, or at least awareness that your product can be bought on Amazon? Are you running PR that calls out the product and then, where to buy? Yeah, you can buy it on the website. You can also buy it on Amazon. You can also buy it at Target. So making sure Amazon has its rightful place in your marketing strategies off Amazon or off marketplace in general, I think is really important. Building brands has not gone away. Maybe 5 years ago, you could launch a brand on Amazon, just run some search and you're good. Have some reviews and you're good. I think those days are gone, very much dwindling. You really need to have a 360 approach to e-commerce. So even if you're an Amazon only brand, which we have some brands in our portfolio on the emerging side that are like that, we encourage them to, what's your D2C strategy? What's your awareness strategy? Who's your PR agency? So we help even make connections there. So even if we don't have those capabilities in-house, we definitely encourage brands to do that, because that's just what it takes to win on Amazon. Folks need to see you as legit. So you need to have a social account, right? You need to have all these things. And you need to foster those community relationships with your customers, even off Amazon. You touched around profitability, which I think is a good one. And it's really a really tough conversation on channel strategy. For emerging brands, it's much easier. It may be your only channel, or you may have
a conversation you and I have had many times.
Oh, hundreds of times, because where this gets tough is when you have omni-channel distribution. If you're an e-com brand, usually this is not that challenging. You know what you're getting into early, and that usually doesn't change. But once you have the price matching, and what Amazon, since I've been on the business, what Amazon has evolved into is, even if it used to be like this. It used to be if you're selling 1P and Walmart has a lower price, you would lose the buy box and you would lose the ability to run search, which obviously is detrimental for your brand. It has also gotten to the point of, even if you're not 1P and you're only 3P, if there's another price in the buy box, even if you're the only seller, you can still sell the product, but you will still lose the buy box. So it's very interesting. You can lose the buy box, but still sell the product. It's just the consumer has to take an extra click to click on, oh, this is available by other sellers. You have to click here. And it removes the add to cart button essentially from your PDP. That's what losing the buy box means. It's a fancy way to say the ease of coming to your product page and clicking add to cart goes away. The consumer has to click extra clicks to buy the product, and that reduces your conversion enormously.
That has to have an incredible friction effect on conversion. Yeah,
it's terrible. So really making sure your channel strategy is tight. And what that means is, listen, if you want to sell on Target at a certain price, or you want to run a BOGO at CVS, great. You have to make sure your Amazon team is in the know and can react proactively, not reactively. And can proactively, adjust price, put on the coupon, run a deal, whatever it takes to make sure you're at parity. Amazon is nothing but an aggregator of all your trade and all your promo plans across every single customer. Amazon algorithmically, will scrape all of it and put it on their site. So you just have to give your Amazon teams visibility to those promo plans so that they can really proactively, plan their trade budgets accordingly, and which is tough. It really hurts your profitability. But I think the best way to go about that is just making sure you have that understanding going into Amazon of what it takes. Tight distributor management, which I think it's been amazing to see the journey of this. It's been very slow. And what I mean by that is there are companies out there that can help you with your marketplace, unauthorized sellers, distributors are selling to unauthorized, customers who then put product on Amazon. I think now it's more companies are stomaching the legal aspect of Amazon and doing the hard work around putting contracts together, authorized seller lists, having those face-to-face, virtual face-to-face conversations with distributors of who they can sell to, what is the right pricing. And it's tough. It's not easy, especially if you're a big CPG and you have so many, places of potential leaky distribution. It's very hard to plug those gaps. So I do not envy the marketplace, management teams, but it's hard work that will reap many, many long-term rewards for brands in the long term. If you really want to win on Amazon long-term, you need to do that work now. The longer you wait, you're just pushing off the inevitable and you're making it more expensive for yourself.
One of the things Aisha didn't mention, because she's humble today, is Aisha actually led the beauty business for Johnson & Johnson on 1P Amazon. So you've got this unique qualification coming into 3P of knowing how that world works inside out. But that also reminds me, number one, that, Amazon really at the end of the day, as you mentioned, but all these different trade funds and all the formulas, the large brands, and Amazon really figured out that the strength of the large brands is really the weakness of the large brands. And that's where Amazon wins big time. And you made another statement, reviews is liquid gold. And I want to kind of go back to that for a second. I think of today's review, when you land on a product page, we call it an ASIN on Amazon, but it's a product display page. At the end of the day, on any platform you go to, the first thing a consumer notices is the number of ratings, as well as the quality, which is the number like 3.7 or 4.9 or a 5, right? And power reviews is a big way you can get to that and land on it at the end of the day and improve it as well. But I actually think of, in a weird analogy, I think of the quality of your reviews and the ratings and reviews as what once upon a time in the in-store business, I would really want for Frito-Lay, which was in-store lobby display. It's like the first thing a consumer sees when they walk into the store. That's what ratings and reviews today is. And I'm
Yeah.
shocked, Aisha, that in many a brand today, they still don't get that. Like it's, but if you say lobby display, they would salivate all over it. I just thought I'd mention that.
No, I think that's such a good, I think that's such a good thing to say. It's like, as a brand owner, I would obsess about my reviews. That's what I would check every day, like sales and reviews. Like that's what I would be obsessing about. And it's interesting because it's reviews for some brands are seen still as, tactical and, oh, it'll happen. And, but really putting thought and strategies around reviews, I think, cracking that nut on Amazon's a little more difficult because they have the, rules and regulations around it, but it's feasible. And I think really putting more emphasis on that is key. It's absolutely right.
Before we turn it over to the next question, since we're on the topic of reviews, sorry, Peter. To me, what's still baffling is if you were to try and get the lobby display in store, it cost you a check of hundreds of thousands from your trade budgets. Improving your ratings and reviews is more a mechanism of discipline and finding a right third-party partner to help you improving it for a fraction of the cost. I'm just baffled that people aren't doing it at the scale they should be. Sorry, Peter.
No, we're going to book Aisha on for another episode just to talk about ratings and reviews. You sold me. You had me at hello. No, I would agree with you, Shri. And it's not only just the generation of that, it's also learning from it. We'll talk about that in the future. But it's very interesting, Aisha, when I think what I heard you talk about was making sure that Amazon has visibility to what you're doing omni-channel. And that gets into this concept of your brand clients. I'd love to know a little bit more about how you select them. Are you finding them? Are they finding you? Do you take everybody who comes to you? And then once you've decided to build a partnership with a brand, what are your expectations of them to make you both successful?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I feel like we had plans to build a tighter business development strategy, and then COVID hit, and that kind of became our business development strategy in terms of it really just accelerated. I mean, everyone's saying this, and it really is true. It just accelerated e-commerce by 5 years within 3 months, 2 or 3 month period. And so we do get a lot of interest, especially because of our size and our scale. We unfortunately can't take everyone, but really it comes down to, and why I came to Pharmapacks, a big reason why I came here is the focus on long-term growth and long-term success. Just like Amazon, it's a very much an Amazon mentality at Pharmapacks. And what I mean by that is we're not looking to make short-term huge margins in the short term. Yes, we want to be profitable, of course, but being very strategic about what makes sense to scale, not just for us, but for the brand partners, and how do we foster relationships that are going to last for a long time through the right pricing strategies, the right support for their teams, the right resources, talent, etc. And so really there's really 2, I'll call it funnels of business, I'll say. There's probably more than that, but I'll simplify it into 2 buckets. And one is really the large CPG partners. Reckitt Benckiser is a strategic partner for us. Johnson & Johnson, obviously, was an early partner for us in that space. And there's a slew of other, wonderful names, L'Oreal, Bayer, others that we work with. And then the other funnel is really emerging brands. So these are like digitally native brands. And so on the large CPG side, yes, we have relationships with many of them. We try to understand, who's really ready to really dive into this world of hybrid strategy. And we try to partner with who we can, as long as we can make the margins work. We can usually take on an assortment. And I think that's the beauty of it is Amazon sees everything at a ASIN level, right? To them, it's an ASIN by ASIN business. If something isn't working at the ASIN level, they'll cut it off, right? And they'll crap it out on the 1P side. Pharmapacks and why so many CPGs like to work with Pharmapacks is we look at things at the portfolio level. So as long as we're making, you know, some margin at the portfolio level, we'll make it work for our CPGs. You know, we want to be good partners. We want to help them get distribution on Amazon. And like I said, that's part of our long-term capabilities and a competitive advantage of why you'd want to work with a Pharmapack. So there's the CPG side in which we have many relationships, continuing to foster more as we really have to grow warehouse space. So we're building a third warehouse in Long Island that will help us to take on more large partners as well as small partners. So we have an emerging brand division led by our Chief Investment Officer, Stephanie Lee, who's incredible. And she does the hard work of you know, really vetting and doing due diligence around the emerging brands, understanding where strategically in our portfolio we may have category gaps. So going after key categories where we're seeing a lot of growth, we'll try to look for the brands that are popping in that space. We'll check to see if they're doing 3P on their own, or if there's any brands. Like literally, I'll screenshot brands that I'm getting on my Instagram, and I'm like, are these guys on Amazon? If not, let's try to get them. Let's try to get them on Amazon and have them be one of our customers. I mean, it's literally that scrappy sometimes. Like if we see a brand popping off Amazon, we'll try to bring them on. If we see a brand popping on Amazon, we'll try to bring them on. If they're doing FBA themselves, we could be a partner for them. So that's really how we look at it. So we have around, I'll call it 50 brands or so on the emerging brand side, and around 8 to 10 large strategic, more of the large strategic partners.
So before Sri jumps in, I'll ask you, has your immersion in Amazon been so complete that you've abandoned PowerPoint in favor of the classic Amazon 5-pagers for building out all your strategy?
You know what's really funny about that? The short answer is yes.
I
have made 0 slides since I've been here at Pharmapacks. Maybe I made one or two. I might have made 1 or 2 earlier on. And very recently, actually, even our CEO, Andrew, was like, guys, we got to start thinking more like Amazon. Like, internal stuff should be as scrappy as possible. Obviously, if we have presentations and QBRs, quarterly business reviews with our partners, our brands, of course, we'll make the decks, we'll share the data, we'll do all of that. But when it comes to internal decision making, I mean, that's another reason why I came to Pharmapacks is, you know, J&J really gave me that polish, which is awesome. That polish, that influencing, the ability to communicate, the ability to really think about things, right? The financial diligence at J&J, I mean, it's really run like a bank. It's incredible what I've learned there. And then really leaving to go into the startup world, agency world. I really have this hybrid thinking approach, but here at Pharmapacks, it's sometimes hybrid, but actually leans, I think, much more on the startup side. So that thinking I actually very much appreciate. Going back to big CPG for me would be very hard. I think feasible, but hard because, you know, just the ability to get in a room and 10-minute call and make a decision is incredible.
Life is a lot also about how you innovate yourself and what you continue to learn, right? The question I do ask myself is, in a large CPG, do I now just become an operator, or am I really learning anything? And I believe the day you stop learning is the day you die. But, you know, Peter's question reminded me of, I think once upon a time, you and I might have even attempted to write a PR FAQ, copying the Amazon way. And I'll leave it to the curiosity of our listeners to Google and find out what a PR FAQ is and how the dreaded PowerPoint stories of actually incubating an innovation can be found. But I wanted to come back to one of the awesome things about working with Pharmapacks is this notion of, from day one, you can see delivery that's as reliable as partnering directly on a 1P relationship with Amazon, and that is having a Prime badge. So how does one go about, or Pharmapacks go about earning that Prime badge? How hard is it to sustain that Prime badge, and how important is it for y'all at Pharmapacks to make sure y'all continue to retain it and ensure that the brands you bring on and transact on the third-party marketplace as a 3P seller, you'll actually have the Prime badge?
It is one of the most important tenets of our entire business. Once you lose the Prime badge, it really hits your conversion big time. That is how the Amazon consumer has been trained. I do it all the time in my shopping. I actually was very frustrated that during coronavirus, the ability to filter by Prime shipping was very limited. And that's the only way, like there's almost anxiety where it's like 4-day shipping, no Prime, or, Prime badge. And I I'll wait a week to get the product Prime than just buying it today with 4-day shipping. I don't know why. It's just, I've just been trained that, Prime is really the only way to go, and it has to have a Prime badge to be reliable. And I think actually that's originally how J&J, you remember, Shri, actually agreed to even work with Pharmapacks, is we had to convince them, we had to convince the leadership, why would anyone want to buy a product from Pharmapacks? And they want to buy the product where directly it says the brand name, right? Sold by Rogaine or sold by Neutrogena.
Glad we did, though.
Yeah, and we did, and we showed them, and it was really a data-driven decision that once a consumer sees the Prime, and I'm definitely guilty of this too, I don't care who sells it to me, what the name of the seller is, if it's the brand or someone else, it's a good price, it's the Prime badge, and I trust it. Getting that badge is not easy. You have to prove to Amazon over a pretty long period of time that you can consistently deliver in 2 days before you can even have the conversation. Forget the approval, even to have the conversation with them on getting that badge. And I think during coronavirus, especially, a lot of sellers were harmed, other 3P sellers, because it was really hard to be able to ship 2 days, because of the order management and just the sheer volume of orders people were getting. Pharmapacks was able to retain that badge. We did make strategic decisions at certain points to remove the badge on certain items like Lysol because it had such high demand. So yes, we did that on purpose, but yes, we are a seller fulfilled Prime vendor for Amazon. Very proud of that, and it's very, very important. The other way to get Prime is just by doing FBA. And that's an avenue that a lot of, emerging scrappy brands like to do to really incubate their brand. Because you could do it tomorrow. You just, you can become a seller, slap that label on your box, send it to an FBA warehouse, and you're Prime. You have Amazon distribution. And so there are many brands that choose that route.
Well, I'm going to get on my soapbox a little bit about Prime. I've been in 2 different locales during the pandemic. When I was in Chicago, Prime was great because I would get it probably the next day more often than not. Now I'm in New Haven, Connecticut, which is an hour from New York City. Yeah. Prime is now 5 to 6 days consistently. And that is causing me a great deal of irritation.
Yeah.
So that's a topic for another day.
I agree.
Let me close this out with, we always love to ask people predictions. So we'd love to know where you think Pharmapacks is going and generally where you think Amazon is going. The Prime Day has shifted. What is that going to mean for the holidays? Would love to know what are some of the things that are that are making your head spin thinking about the future of your business. And
yeah, it's a great question. I'll say for Pharmapacks in particular, I see it just expanding to more marketplaces. That for us is probably one of our strategic areas of growth, obviously, other than partnering with the right brands and making sure we have the right partners and growing those relationships. It's what's next. We've got Amazon. We're trying, Walmart is obviously key and strategic for us. How do we grow? How do we continue to grow that? How do we crack the code on marketing in that space and helping our brands grow in those channels? Then there's Target, Target Plus is releasing. Is that where we go next? There's Google Marketplace, which is I'm super bullish on because of all the data that Google has and the ability to really market to the consumer in innovative ways. I think Google has a horse in the race now with e-com. There's Instagram shopping. I mean, it will continue to grow, right? Wish, Rakuten, you name it. I mean, it's growing and it's where do you grow? So I think that'll be what's next is just more marketplaces, new marketplaces, international marketplaces, Alibaba. What do we do there? I don't think that can be ignored. So yeah, I think that's for Pharmapacks, hopefully a key tenet of what's next. And then for the industry, I would say, for me, I'm very passionate about data. I'll always be a math geek at heart. And data and technology. Really fell in love with technology. I'm not an expert on technology. I won't pretend to understand AI or ML in any degree of expertise, but I know enough to be dangerous in terms of what it can do for Amazon. And I think I'm very excited about what's next in the technology space when it comes to managing 1P and 3P selling together. If anyone out there has a technology company that wants to crack this with me, hit me up. LinkedIn message me, text me, email me, whatever it takes. I will be happy. That is an endeavor I would happily spend time on. But I really think that's, I'm excited to see who gets there first and who's really investing behind it. But, you know, there's so many good vendors out there that can help you on the 1P side, manage your business, provide data, provide insights, assortment insights. You know, when an ASIN's down or your reviews are bad, there's a lot of technology out there that can help you keep an eye on your business for 1P. There's also technologies that'll do it for 3P. And when I first got, I was looking I can't tell you, I spent the first 8 weeks at Pharmapacks a lot of the time with external vendors and partners asking for, is this capable? Does this exist? Am I crazy? And there's nothing really, no one that yet has built something for hybrid selling to help really for large CPGs manage their 1P, 3P business strategically, to say, hey, if you move this to 3P, you can make more money. Hey, you've incubated this on 3P, let's move it to 1P. Here are the keywords you want 1P, here are the keywords you want 3P. Here's how your 1P investments, which are usually very large on Amazon, are impacting your 3P business and helping you grow on 3P. No one's done that yet, and I think that will come. Let's see if I'm right.
So as we close this out today, I'm reminded of our guest from 2 weeks ago who kind of alluded to the same thing as his passion, which was Anil Agarwal, the founder of Shop Talk and Grocery Shop. He referred to math and cognitive ability as the next frontier he's personally interested in. Maybe we'll try to get you both back together on the same episode so we can all talk math together. I know that's one of Peter's favorite topics.
I smell a rank punditry episode coming. This is
there we
great.
go.
This is great.
And you combine that all of a sudden with the secret sauce on ratings and reviews. Maybe we'll toss Power Reviews a new magic wand. So for all our listeners, on behalf of all our listeners, Peter and myself, this is the first time we've really got into the third-party marketplace, and we're grateful you chose to come on our podcast, Consumer Engagement on an Omni-Channel World, and truly got into the nitty-gritty and in the weeds here of how business is done on a third-party marketplace and how to be successful. So thank you, Aisha, the Chief Strategy Officer for Pharmapacks, for doing that. And to all our listeners, you can catch us on this whole episode can be heard on the Apple Podcast, where we would love for you to listen to and rate us and like us. It's tinyurl.com/Apple CPG podcast. You can also find all our content on the link right here on the video, which is linktr.ee/CPG guys. And in closing, thank you so much, Aisha, for giving us time today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast. Would love to come back again. Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing all our listeners and chatting with y'all and on the next episode of Consumer Engagement in an Omni-Channel World. Until then, see you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.